You're watching a special edition of Pronews 7 at 10. The Pronews 7 Talk, School Bond Issues. Here's Jay Ritchie.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's conversation, and we hope you send us a question via our Facebook page, our website, or Twitter. Every year about this time, school districts everywhere ask their voters to decide some important issues. Some of them involve school board candidates, but the ones that grab even more attention are bond issues. From what we can gather, we have a handful of those in Pronews 7 country in May, and most of them are represented here tonight. They run the gamut from large to small school districts. In studio with me from left to right are Jim Austin, the president of the school board for Amarillo ISD, Jody Balch, the deputy superintendent of operations for the Clovis Municipal School District, Don Wood, the superintendent from Bushland ISD, and Robert McLain, the superintendent in Channing ISD. Gentlemen, thank you for being here for tonight's program. I might also mention that an invitation to tonight's forum was also extended to Bill Wiggins. He's the superintendent in the Plemons-Tonette Phillips Consolidated School District, which has two bond issues on May 11th's ballot, but he was unavailable tonight. Mr. Wiggins told me, though, one issue there is a $2.3 million bond for capital projects. The other is a $30 million bond for a sports complex and related projects. Gentlemen, let me give each of you a little time to explain the issues you're presenting to voters next month. Jim Austin, you first. Describe AISD's almost $100 million question.
Well, we have the opportunity to improve our facilities, take care of some safety needs that need to be addressed in 13 of our elementary schools, and deal with overcrowding that's occurred since 2008. Our population of children has increased from 30,000 to approximately 33,500, and that just causes us to have some overcrowding that we need to address. The cost of the bond is, as you stated, $99,450,000. The opportunity is because of our chance to refinance these bonds. The actual cost to a homeowner, the average home in Amarillo would be $18 a year. The cost to a $250,000 home in Amarillo would be $47 a year. So because of the low interest rate environment that we're in and being able to take advantage of that through the refinancing model, we're going to be able to significantly improve our schools in the manners that I stated at a very reduced cost to the homeowner on an average basis.
All right, Jim, thank you for that overview. Jody Balch, your election in Clovis is May 7th. The rest of these elections we're talking about, by the way, are May 11th. What comprises Clovis's $20 million bond issue?
Yes, Jay, we have $20 million, and the election is May 7th. And the key to our bond election is there's no tax increase. It stays at $4.95 per $1,000 assessed. And in New Mexico, we're assessed on a third of the valuation of the home, not the full amount. So it keeps property taxes in check. We have a lot of projects going. We're about to wrap up 3. We've renovated 2 elementary schools, a brand new middle school, renovated a middle school, and we need to continue with our elementary schools. And we're unique in New Mexico that we have an 80-20 match with the state of New Mexico. And what that's probably calling Clovis is that we're on the lower end of the socioeconomics in New Mexico, but we kind of like it with the 80-20 match. For instance, a project cost $100, the state will give us $80, and we provide $20. So $20 million goes a long ways. And so we've identified James Bickley Elementary, which has been on the radar for a while. It needs to be completed. We have Highland or Parkview in the radar, and then we'll continue with our playground equipment and paving.
All right, thank you for that. Don Wood, you're next. Bushland is asking for approval of an $8.5 million bond. Tell us about how that would be spent.
Sure. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate y'all having us. We have an $8.5 million bond issue that is going to be proposed. In that bond issue, we have several capital projects listed. Among the biggest of those is the Technology One-to-One Initiative. We also have an ag facility that will be a primary use for our ag students and in the stock show and stock animals, getting them prepared. We also have buses in this bond issue, along with security. Security, of course, has been a big issue since the events that happened this past year, and we've already started with that with some of the projects. The cost of an average homeowner for this bond issue will be about $55 a year, and that's for about a $200,000 home. And it'll cost, it's a 3-cent tax on our INS rate, and it's about a 15-year payout for this. Mm-hmm. Among other projects, we have playground equipment. We have, of course, some other transportation issues. We have heaters and air conditioners, some of those things. It's just a lot of different projects that will be included in this bond issue.
Okay, appreciate that. Robert McLain, what is involved in Channing's request? Yours is for $2.5 million.
Well, and again, thank you for having us here. Ours is really determined more by aging facilities and growing enrollment. And I know that sounds unusual, growing enrollment in Little Channing, but we are at the maximum number we've been at ever in the history of Channing right now as far as enrollment. Now, that's only 170 kids, but a building that was built for 120 is kind of busting at the seams right now. We're looking at an 82-year-old facility that we're needing to do some remodeling, renovation, kind of expand some classrooms, take some old dressing rooms, gut those, make them into some classrooms, expand our auditorium back out to its original size from early 1960s, expand the cafeteria. And a lot of these, almost all of these projects are looked at as needs of the community as well, because in a community like Channing, the school is the hub of the town. And if we have a big funeral, chances are it's going to be at the school. If we have a big community meal, chances are it's going to be at the school. So when our board looked at this, they looked at that option as well.
All right, lots of numbers to digest and think about. We'll ask some of your questions of our panel after this break.
You're watching a special edition of Pronews 7 at 10. The Pronews 7 Talk, School Bond Issues. Here's Jay Ritchie.
Welcome back to segment 2 of our discussion. First question I have is from Joe on Facebook panel. He says, are there any outstanding bonds that have not been paid off yet in your districts? If so, would it not be prudent to pay those off first and not incur more debt? His question specifically is on the citizens of Amarillo, he says. So Jim Austin, comment on that, and then I'll ask the three of you if there's any issues like that in your districts. Jim, you first.
Well, we have, I guess you'd say, several bonds that haven't been paid off. Some are in 15-year increments, some in 30-year increments, some in 25-year increments, and so no, there's several that haven't been paid off. However, the amount of money that is being applied to pay down on the debt has been reduced from 14.5 cents in 2006 to 9 cents currently, and it takes a lot of money to finance these schools. The amount of money that we spend each year to service the debt is 3.5% of our budget. So it's not an oppressive amount of money of
fiscally
our budget.
Responsible on your terms.
We think so, but when you have these entities, it takes a lot of money to finance them, and it takes a lot of money to take care of the needs. And so I think long-term debt is something we'll always live with.
Yeah. Jody, is that an issue in the Clovis schools?
We have some debt, but we're able to pay down well on our debt. It's not been an issue.
The same kind of low percentage rate that Jim was talking about?
In fact, great rates.
Okay. Don, anything like that outstanding in Bushland?
We do. We have 3 outstanding debt payments, one scheduled to be complete and paid off in 2025, then 2028, and another one in 2034. We did have the option to refinance our bonds last year, and in the life of those bonds, we are saving approximately $1 million. So we feel like we are also very fiscally able to address the needs of our district by refinancing.
And Robert, in your large geographic district?
We do not have any bonded indebtedness.
Mm-hmm. It's been a long time since one was even asked for.
The last bond in our district was 1965.
Major differences from district to district here on our panel tonight. A quick suggestion from Rod on Facebook. You should spend money on tight security for every student, he says. The security issue is what I want to get into. I remember when Columbine happened, everybody was hot for putting metal detectors in schools. That didn't happen because most schools are very, very safe. Now, with what's happened with all the shootings, we're talking about arming somebody in every school. Talk about if there's any security issues in your bonds and what the latest conversation in your district is about securing your schools.
In our bond, there's no security included in that bond. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that our board has decided to go ahead and we are spending some money on some precautionary measures right now. We're not waiting for a bond. But we're, of course, one building campus, so it's a little bit easier for us than it is for a bigger district.
Don, I know you want to add cameras as part of your issue, right?
Yes, sir. Cameras, security coming into the buildings, cameras, some sort of buzzer system. We've already hired a liaison officer coming out of just fund balance because bond money cannot pay for personnel. And of course, we've got fencing that's being put up and intercom upgrades and some other security measures that we chosen not to disclose at this point.
Jody, nothing like that in your bond, but what are you talking about in Clovis?
In all of our new projects, Jay, we include security systems in the package, so that's funded. The state helps us pay for that to some degree, and so we want to make sure there's one way in and there's electronic methods to get into either side door to get to a hallway. So our renovations and our new buildings are being built for that purpose.
And Jim, what are you looking for in the bond issue for Amarillo for security purposes?
Well, for us, we're real interested in completing controlled access to all the elementaries. We have 35 elementaries. 13 of them, we still don't have controlled access complete. And so we would use approximately $9 million of this bond money to redesign and rebuild the entrances into many of these schools so that controlled access would be part of the everyday life of that school.
Okay, thank you. More of your questions coming back after the second break.
You're watching a special edition of Pronews 7 at 10. The Pronews 7 Talk, School Bond Issues. Here's Jay Ritchie.
And welcome back to tonight's final talk segment. Gentlemen, sports is a big thing. Facebook, 4 people on Facebook. Jeff says, I don't think turf for middle school football fields should be one of the projects here. Jennifer says, not sports. Tony says, it's okay for football players to be tackled on real earth. And Teresa says, take out the part about artificial turf for middle schools, AISD, and I'll vote yes. I'm tired of the powers that be trying to sneak in unnecessary things behind several things that are needed. That's directly at AISD. So Jim, talk about that. And generically, gentlemen, talk about asking for sports dollars in our economic climate. Jim, you're first.
Well, we have 9 middle schools that we hope to for them to be able to have artificial turf. It's a great opportunity. We think there's a safety issue, and so we think it's a better turf for them to play on. It's great for the community because not only will the kids be playing on it, but the community can come out and play Little League football or soccer. So it's an investment both for the kids as they're in school, and it's an investment for the kids and the parents that want to use it in the evenings or in the weekend.
And you think safety is one of the biggest concerns as far as that's concerned, right?
Well, I think it's been proven that there's a lot of safety in playing on artificial turf as compared to playing on grass.
Jody, nothing like that in your bond issue, but what about that issue, sports concerns in this day and age?
We have our high school football field is turfed, and we do have $600,000 at the bottom of the bond just in case replacement is necessary in the next 3 or 4 years. We think we still have that much use out of the one we have, so we're good. We have no other issues with
Don, philosophically, sports issues and asking for bond money?
You know, sports issues are a vital part of any school environment, as well as any extracurricular activity. But in this bond issue, there is no other types of money toward that particular item.
And Robert, we were talking earlier, none of you is asking for the Allen School District big football stadium, so that's good. But philosophically, what do you think?
Well, philosophically, I think sports is a part of any school program, and if there's a need there, then it all goes back to need. I mean, at Channing, we are going to ask, part of the bond is actually going to replace some bleachers that are 45 years old and are falling apart. So.
There's a quick answer to this from all of you. Robert, you first. What has the economic climate or the way your legislatures deal with school funding, how has that changed how you deal with things? A quick answer, the biggest thing that's happened with your district.
We've had to cut back in some places. Literally, when the state took away $5.4 billion, that hit everybody. It hit Amarillo, it hit Channing.
So is bond a way to make up for some of that cut?
Bond is a very viable way for us as a Chapter 41 school.
Don, would you agree with Robert's statement?
Definitely agree with that. Of course, bond money is a way to offset that. Also, increased enrollment, which we are now in that era of increased enrollment, and that also brings in revenue.
A little different for Clovis. You're sitting in a little bit different position, a little bit better position, I would say.
A little different. We've been on a bond for quite some time, and it's a continuation of the bond. Without the bond, we would be in some very tightening situations. I mean, the bond allows us to do so many things, and without it, our community's been great about it, and we hope that continues.
And Jim, as the biggest district here, how have you changed the way you've dealt with things because of the state legislature and the economy?
Well, last year our revenue stream was cut by over $8 million. And so we cut salaries, we cut positions, we cut expenses, and so that's out of our maintenance operation. So the bond money is really used for capital improvements for us. So it's things getting back to the turf. You know, it's an opportunity to save over $120,000 a year in expenses and save over 6 million gallons of water. In this environment that we live in today, those things are very important.
Sir, we're out of time. Jim, Jody, Don, and Robert, thank you so much for sharing those comments, and good luck with your bond issues coming up. Again, the election in Clovis is May 7th. The date for the other three featured here tonight is May 11th. Brian James has his forecast for you next.